Hot. Go.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to the July 26, 2022 Board of Supervisors meeting. At this time, we will call the order for closed session. If the clerk could read out the closed session.
Closed session for today. Item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2, conference with legal counsel, re-anticipated litigation, 1 case, significant exposure to litigation. Item 2, public employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, title Interim County Administrative Officer.
And then we will also report out the 7/19 meeting, please.
Closed session report out from July 19, 2022. Item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54957.6, conference with county designated labor negotiators Judy Hawkins, Robert Bendorf, and Mary Egan regarding the following employee organizations: Service Employees International Union Local 1021, Sheriff's Management Units, Calaveras County Public Safety Employees Association, Deputy Sheriff's Association, Calaveras Management Union, Calaveras Supervisors Union, unrepresented employees. Board action, no reportable action taken. Item 2, public employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, title Interim County Administrative Officer. Board action, no reportable action taken. Item 3, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation, Greer et al. Versus Calaveras County Superior Court Case Number 18CV43460. Board action, no reportable action taken. Item 4, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2, conference with legal counsel, re-anticipated litigation, 1 case, significant exposure to litigation. Board action, no reportable action taken. And there is no online public comment.
With that, we will go into closed session and return at 9. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday, July 26, 2022 Board of Supervisors meeting. At this time, could you please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, the board will be going back into closed session after the regular agenda, so there is nothing to report out at this time. With that, we will go into staff announcements, but before we have staff announcements, I just want to let the public know and the board, we will be moving regular agenda up, number 12, to after staff announcements, which is the 4-H presentation. Okay. With that, we have Leslie. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, honorable members of the board. Leslie Davis, Calaveras County Assessor. Last week, we produced the 2022 assessment roll. It will be the last assessment roll of my career as assessor. This year's assessment roll, net of all exemptions, is $8,824,186,144, and that reflects a 7.41% increase over 2021. For the first time ever, the total local roll without exemptions is more than $9 billion. In 2001, the first roll I was involved in with Calaveras County for the entire year, the net assessed value was just under $3.5 billion. So over the course of the last 22 years, the assessment roll has increased almost $5.4 billion. But you might be interested to know that the number of homeowners exemptions continues to decline. In 2009, my first year as assessor, we had 11,008 homeowners exemptions. That number peaked in 2011 with 11,830, then began a steady decline to this year's number at 9,677. At the same time, there are 216 disabled veterans exemptions, up from 92 in 2009. The reason I tell you about disabled veterans exemptions is because they are also required to live in their home as their primary residence. But that doesn't come close to making up the loss of 2,153 homeowners. My staff, of course, deserves the credit for a job well done. They have worked really hard this year to get as much work done as possible. Several worked overtime in order to complete the work, and for that I'm truly grateful. However, we continue to have a backlog. In fact, even though we were able to enroll 13,069 assessed values during the past fiscal year, we now have a backlog of 6,065 events. That is a 27% increase in backlogged work over the same point in time last year. Much of that is due to our continued difficulties recruiting and retaining staff. Over the course of the next 5 months, my focus will be on training the appraisal team to reduce that backlog with a special attention on income-producing properties, and I'm hoping that will set the office up for continued success in the future. As you know, I report on our backlog quarterly or as close to that as I possibly can, and so I wanted to include that as an element of today's announcement that the 2022 assessment roll has been closed. Thank you as always for your support. I appreciate it, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I did send out the basic numbers to each of the board members.
Thank you. Supervisor Callaway has a question for you.
Yes, David, thank you. I want to publicly acknowledge Ms. Davis yesterday met with a mobile home park in my district because mobile home parks are now finally getting hit with supplemental assessments. And I learned a lot in that process, and it was very informative. And so it's something that'll impact all of the mobile home parks in Calaveras County. Thank you very much for meeting with them yesterday. I appreciate it.
Thank you for arranging that meeting, Supervisor Calaveras. I think I've told all board members, if you have a group of constituents who have issues, I'm happy to meet with them as a group, or if you're getting an individual call, I or someone on my staff will be happy to answer those questions for you.
Are there any other board questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate it. Thank you for the update.
Sure.
And with that, I believe we have Ms. Medina next.
Good morning, Madam Chair, respective board members, Assistant CAO, County Council, Clerk of the Board, and our Calaveras community. Lisa Medina, Environmental Management Agency. Today at our animal shelter, we are caring for over 80 animals. We have several kittens that will be available for adoption soon, over 20, 25 almost. We also have some truly great dogs that are needing forever homes, including Hank, Timothy, Bailey, Tyler, Misty, Buck, and Billy. I would like to share a very special story of one of our pups named Luke, who was under our care for almost 1 week shy of 3 months. During the electro-fire, our animal service team reached out to several rescues to take some of our pups so we can make room for animals that might have been displaced during the fire. Several rescues came to our rescue, including the San Francisco and East Side SPCA. Luke was one of 8 pups chosen to go to the rescues, and we are very happy to announce Luke went to his forever home in the Bay Area last week. This is what his new human said. I just am writing to let you know that yesterday I adopted Luke, and he is doing well now in his new forever home. He is a darling big boy, and I deeply love him. Training will start this afternoon. He is very eager to please, so I think he will be one of the greatest and easiest dogs I've had to learn how to be a perfect housemate. Thanks so much for keeping him safe while he was in your care. It is stories like these that make us truly appreciate the kindness of strangers and the people that are compassionate and dedicated to ensuring that our animals in our care have a better chance at living their full lives with humans that will love them forever. We cannot thank Friends of Calaveras Animal Services, Focus, and our volunteers enough for all they do for us. We cannot operate successfully without them. Huge thanks to our animal service staff who daily care for our animals and rescue those that are lost, abused, neglected, and unloved. Each one of them is truly dedicated, and we are very lucky to have them working with us. Our next free rabies clinic will be held in Angels Camp in September, on September 10th to be exact, from 9 to noon, at the Spence Feed and Supply. This clinic will be a rabies vaccine clinic only, and no microchips will be given. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Lisa. Are there any other staff announcements?
There are no further staff announcements.
Okay, and there's none in the room. I see a list in a group of you guys in the back. None? Okay, awesome. We'll move on to agenda item number 12, which is an informational item for 4-H. So we're going to be having the Calaveras 4-H come on up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lauren.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. You guys want to go, you can sit in the chair and come up to the mic, or do you want to move the
I'm going to
mic?
introduce it real quick, and then
Okay.
I'll let them each come up to the scary microphone. Good morning. My name is Amber Wood. I am co-leader of the Mountain Ranch unit of 4-H. We just wanted to come and thank the county for the amazing support that it gives 4-H. It is such an incredible group, and just in our little club, which is probably one of the smallest, we have animal projects all the way from, chickens, rabbits, goats, sheep, pigs. We even had a steer project this year, which was a really big thing for our little club. We also have the opportunity to offer non-animal projects. We have an amazing woodworking project leader. I have personally been Lego leader for a few years. So it's really a well-rounded program, and it gives the kids a lot of opportunities, especially in the community. These little ones they make cards and decorations to take to the retirement homes during holidays. They have written letters to veterans. We've even gone down to Lawton Ranch during the fires and helped out with the animals during fire evacuations, which it was a truly 4-H experience. It was really neat for the kids to get to work with the animals and really help. During fire season, it can be so scary. So for them to get to help and feel like they were doing something was really special. They each wanted to kind of introduce themselves. You want to go ahead, Adrian? Microphones are right there. You can sit in the chair if you'd like.
Hi, I'm Adrian Wood. This is my 7th year in 4-H. I am 13, heading into 8th grade this year. 4-H has given me lots of opportunities to work with different animals, and I have found what I really am passionate about, and that is raising and breeding goats. I have 2 goats, and one of them I bred last year. We AI'd, so artificial insemination, which means we didn't use a buck, we did it ourselves. So this means it's a long process. It takes a span of about a month. And so the first time we did it, it didn't work, but we had time to do it again. This was our last chance, and so we did it again, and we finally got it to take. And so I officially bred my first goat, and then she kidded a few months ago, and we had one baby goat, and it was healthy, it was strong, and we sold it for breeding a week or two ago. It was my first successful breeding season.
Now you're an expert, you know how to do it.
Hi, my name is Lorelai Wood. I'm 7 years old. I've been in 4-H for 2 years. The past projects that I've been is woodworking, poetry, and baking. Here is something that I made in woodworking that I was very proud of.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. You'll hold that up so everyone else can see out in the audience?
Hi, I'm Logan Bardwell. I've been doing 4-H for 2 years. I am 12 years old. Some projects I'm passionate about are poultry, swine, woodwork, and equine. Last year was a pretty successful year for me with selling my pig, my meat birds, and my woodwork project, with also getting an Outstanding Livestock Award. And I'm also passionate about how nice and friendly our small community is.
Why don't you guys come right up here?
Thank you for coming today and sharing your project.
Oh, thank you for having us. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Almost done, everybody. There we go. Thank you. And then our...
Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Can you put your camera down and come up here with them and we can get a picture
Oh,
of
of
all
course.
four? Yeah. Thank you.
So, we need to, oh, I want to get the, I have the board stand up behind me to have everybody together, please. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then for all we have many other clubs that are part of the county, so that we actually put together a slideshow. Each individual unit sent in pictures, just kind of show you what all the different clubs are doing around the county. Thank you all for having us.
Thank you. I believe Supervisor Gray-Mendy had something
I just want to thank 4-H for coming out. And you are one of my favorite programs in this entire county. I was in 4-H as a kid. My children went through 4-H, and a special thank you to the volunteer leaders who do a lot of work to teach all you 4-Hers a lot of interesting stuff. And I think one of the things that, having observed many 4-H meetings, is the civic engagement piece of what you do. Learning how to run meetings, learning, taking leadership roles. We hope that translates into civic engagement as you guys transition out of 4-H, and perhaps you could sit up here one of these days and run these meetings, because I've been to plenty of 4-H meetings, and sometimes you guys do it better.
We actually have our vice president and treasurer here. They are so official when running meetings.
Well, I want to thank you, and I want to thank the leaders who put this all together. And it's one of the programs, this is one of my favorite presentations when it comes every year. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
With that, we will go back to regular scheduled programming, which is next on the agenda is general public comment. Any items of the public, any interest to the public that's within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and is not posted on consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking any action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it's determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If public comment is concluded before the 30 minutes allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the next order of business. If public comment is not concluded during the allotted time period, it will be continued as the last item of business in order to provide an opportunity for the remainder of the comments to be heard. So with that, I've noticed, thank you, we haven't had a full room in a while, so I appreciate everybody coming. With that in mind, I just want to, I know everyone's here for similar topics, so if there's something that's already been said, please keep it different with the comments so we can keep with the 30 minutes. Otherwise, we will have to continue public comment until after the agenda, regular agenda. So I just want to be mindful of the time that we have. So with that, we'll start the public comment. There will be lights on the podium, so please be mindful of the lights. They will trigger green, yellow, and red when your time is up. So with that, we'll start public comments.
Hi, I'm Alex Sagewalker. I'm a dog walker at Calaveras County Animal Services. And firstly, I would like to address what Lisa Medina was talking about with the dog Luke, big, white German Shepherd, who got taken by the Bay Area Rescue. He was a wonderful dog. He'd been there for a long time, and his living conditions were not good. There is not a big enough space for a dog like that, and him being there so long, it was really hard going in day after day, seeing Luke in that cage and taking him out for his 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then putting him back in there. So I'm really happy for him that he got taken and adopted. And that's what I want to address here today. I was here November 2021, and I talked about the terrible conditions that the dogs at Animal Services have to endure. Nothing has changed. After I read the statement, I got a group of dog walkers together, organized them, and asked the county to please set up a fund so that we could raise funds and we would have a place to put the money that we raised to contribute to the building of animal shelter. The county didn't respond. According to the county's mid-year budget for 2021-2022, there's $4.6 million allocated to the building of a new shelter and district attorney's building. Will this amount be split evenly between the two entities? Also, if that is the mid-year report, what is the budget for next year? Is there another $4.46 million that can be split evenly between the two projects? That would mean the county would have $4.46 million to build a new shelter. And when will this building begin and who's designing it? If the new shelter doesn't have the soundproofing, the larger kennels, and outside runs for the dogs, it's not really going to be much better than what is there now. Who is going to oversee this when the shelter is built? What I was told early on is that the county intended to build a $600,000 building. Now there's a rumor that the county will allocate $1 million. Some of us have visited shelters in the surrounding areas and researched how much an adequate shelter would cost. To build a decent shelter, it would cost around $5 million minimum. This amount is not for anything fancy at all. It is the cost of building a basic, adequate, safe, sanitary, and humane shelter. Is there going to be the $4.46 million that the county has access to build this shelter? The conditions at the shelter remain the same. The noise level from the barking dogs is deafening. Some of the dogs are in constant state of agitation, jumping up and down because they are caged up in small kennels for 23.5 hours a day. A lot of them are housebroken, so they hold it until someone lets them out. Okay, right here.
Hi, I'm Christine Saul. It is not uncommon for a friendly dog to transform into an aggressive dog if they're forced to stay there for any amount of time. To get our assigned dog out of the kennel, you have to walk the gauntlet of barking dogs, which can set off the dog you're trying to get out. It is a very unpleasant experience when they're all barking and growling at each other out of fear and frustration from being housed in too close proximity. We have lost volunteers because it is so difficult to see the dogs in such terrible conditions. My major concerns: 1, the drainage system is set up so that when kennels are sprayed down for cleaning, the water carrying the feces and urine from the kennels drain through the other dog kennels. This can be deadly to the other dogs when there is a dog there with the parvovirus. 2, once we have a proper drainage system, the partitions between the dog kennels need to be extended all the way to the floor. On Wednesday, July 6th, a volunteer and myself saw blood on the floor of 2 adjacent kennels. The dog I was taking out had bitten a chunk of tail off of the dog next to him. I have found bloody noses and paws more than a few times because the dog's fighting through those few exposed inches between kennels. 3, there needs to be a separate place to keep diseased animals away from the healthy dogs. There is no room for this at the shelter presently. We need a new up-to-date shelter. 4, we need a shelter with soundproofing, larger kennels, and access for the dogs to go to outside runs, and of course, proper ventilation. The dog walkers donate approximately 4,400 hours per year to walking the dogs, and probably more is needed. If you multiply that by the minimum wage of $15 an hour, the county accrues around $66,000 worth of free services from dog walking volunteers. That is just for the dogs. There are also volunteers for the cats and other animals. Besides the dog and cat volunteers, Focus, Friends of Calaveras Animal Services, donates a massive amount of materials and volunteer labor. Should this not be a valid reason to include us in this process of getting a new shelter built and talking with us about what is needed in a new shelter? I have some suggestions for improvements that the shelter could make at this time. Repair the drainage system so that the excrement does not flow through all the dog kennels before reaching the drain. Then extend the wall between the kennels to the floor so that the dogs cannot fight through those open few inches. 2, hire part-time staff.
Your light's red.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I'll be sorry if I'm going to repeat a lot of what she said, though I think it needs to be reheard. Hi, good morning. My name is Christine Albertine. A few months ago, I came to the board meeting and spoke briefly about the need for a new animal shelter. Today, I'd like to take this opportunity to discuss the current conditions of the animal shelter as seen through the eyes of the volunteers. First, I'd like to commend the current staff at the shelter. Even though the staffing at the shelter is at the low end of all the various departments at the county, they are doing a tremendous job providing for the care, safety, and security of all the animals that are housed there. If not for all the volunteers who take time out from their day, which includes weekend, to dedicate their time and energy to care for the animals and support the animals and the minimal staff allocated to the shelter, I dare say the shelter could not function. I believe the volunteers are vital to the shelter and deserve a special recognition from the board. And I'm not a dog walker, so you know I'm not speaking for myself here. Recently, there were parvo cases in the doghouse. The parvo dogs had to be housed in the same area where the dogs are being housed. Not only does this put other dogs at risk for disease, but it also halts any ability to meet with the public and have the dogs adopted. The entire shelter was shut down for adoption for 2 weeks. The 2 parvo dogs were put in kennels 19 and 20. All the waste from these kennels moved downhill to kennel 21. While there is some wire between the kennels, the gap does not stop the spread of disease. Kennels 1 through 9 and 14 through 21 are designed to clean from one end to the other, slanting downhill. While this is a good thing when you're cleaning out the kennels, it's a bad thing when the dogs urinate and it flows into the neighboring kennels. There are certain points where it pools and remains there until the next cleaning. Also, the gaps between the kennel leave enough room for dogs' paws and tails to slip underneath. There was recently an incident where one dog had the tip of his tail bitten by the neighboring dog. It was actually bitten off. Dogs have suffered injuries to their paws, nails from the chain link fences. Perhaps something could be added to these gaps until a new shelter is built to prevent these types of incidences. The noise level is horrendous. This not only affects the mental health of the dogs, but the staff as well. In addition, you have dogs cooped up in the kennels the majority of the time, just staring at each other. This affects the dog's mental health and causes behavioral issues. Perhaps running a curtain down the aisle or in the middle of it could help somewhat. This entire environment is not conducive for the showcasing of dogs when people come who are interested in adopting. I'm sure all of you by now have walked through the house and have the dog house and have an understanding of this issue. Would you want to adopt a dog under these circumstances? In closing, I'd like to say that it's all well and good that the county is slowly moving to building a new shelter. As this is occurring, I would hope the staff that works there every day and the volunteers would be consulted, as they are persons who are best equipped to know what features a new shelter should have. In the meantime, I think a few solutions should be immediately implemented to alleviate some of the current problems. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Whipley, and I'm reading for somebody else today. A stay in our current county animal shelter is not a neutral experience for most of the dogs who come through the doors, but rather is decidedly negative. By the way, conditions are very hard on the humans who work in the shelter also. The goal of us volunteers in support of animal service staff is to help socialize, exercise, give rehabilitative love to the dogs to help them be appealing to prospective adopters. The best case scenario is for dogs to be brought in, be cared for, fed, bathed, walked, loved as much as possible, advertised as available for adoption, and in fairly short order be adopted and taken home to forever homes. If that were the case most often, the current shelter environment might be more tolerable. But dogs are staying for weeks or months. One major contributing factor is the lack of timely veterinary care. It is entirely common for animals to be forced to wait to be allowed to go home with their adoptive families for days and weeks while they wait to be spayed or neutered. It's my understanding that by law, animals must be spayed and neutered before leaving the shelter. I'm actually in favor of that standard. The problem is the lack of the backlog of getting the surgeries done in contributing to shelter crowding and stress, negatively impacting animal and human health. Veterinary care is challenging to obtain not only in Calaveras, but in many rural areas. The U.S. Census Bureau anticipates a possible national shortage of 15,000 veterinarians by 2025, with the bulk of those to be needed in rural areas. Getting a spay and neuter appointment is not going to be getting easier anytime soon. We need to factor this issue into our plans. I am requesting the county explore the option of hiring a veterinarian to animal services staff. A position, full-time or perhaps part-time, could be designated to be shared with multiple shelters, feral cat programs, and probably other needs I'm not aware of. Perhaps even some paying customers from outside the shelter could help fund the position. I know our social media accounts take questions about whether the shelter provides spay and neuter services, so the interest is obviously there. I'd like this option to be evaluated and seriously considered to help improve the turnaround time and well-being for animals through the shelter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Morris. I'm following up from somebody else's. This is about the foster program. You've heard much about the suffering and stress caused by a stray in the current shelter environment. A common key strategy to minimize shelter stress and overcrowding is through effective foster care programs. Of all the solutions that could potentially ease the suffering of animals and humans at the Calaveras shelter, a vibrant foster care program seems the most likely to help significantly and quickly. Whenever the option is brought up, I hear the same refrain, liability. So then, how on earth do so many other shelters, both municipal and private, manage to operate a foster program successfully? I am genuinely confused as to how the county can justify this excuse and continue to perpetuate suffering. A network of foster homes would allow suitable dogs and cats to be placed in caring environments where they would receive personalized care, training, and love until permanent homes could be found. The animals would be calmer and happier when meeting prospective adopters, making them more appealing and likely quicker to be welcomed into permanent homes and off of the county's responsibility. Sometimes I'm sure we'd get to enjoy occurrence of the famous foster fails, in which foster families fall in love with their foster pals and decide to keep them forever. Win-win. Shelter space would be reserved for dogs with behavioral, health, legal, and other issues that would make them unsuitable for fostering. There are many, many foster care programs across California and the nation, both in private shelters and municipal. Contra Costa County has a foster program, for example. The Stockton Animal Shelter runs a foster in cooperation with the Animal Protection League. A survey of existing foster systems could be made to explore what strategies make the programs work effectively, including perhaps partnering with other organizations. The liability refrain is not a suitable response when suffering is being allowed to continue, both in animals, in county care, and the human beings who look after them. I request that successful foster systems be studied and emulated in Calaveras. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, it's me again, Debbie Beaufort from Oak Hill. I have been here before. So since we have, once again, just experienced an emergency, I figured this is the perfect time to remind you why fencing of the 6.9 acres designated for animal services is so important. You waste thousands of taxpayer dollars to house livestock at the Calaveras County Fairgrounds when they could be right here at the Government Center. It would be much easier for Calaveras County, Animal Services staff to monitor the animals and care for them since you already pay their salary. In addition, there are volunteers who would help. Already on the 6.9 acres are horse panels that are just standing or laying around doing nothing but going to waste. Focus has come to you before to ask to use a teensy portion of that $600,000 you designated to Animal Services to fence the area for safety reasons. The inmates released from the jail use that area for a walkway to their freedom and are a danger to the dog walkers and the dogs themselves. Also, the area is full of foxtails and dangerous high grasses, and those are just a few of the dangers. I have visited many other animal shelters in Northern California, and it seems we are only one that is not fenced. You are always going on and on about liability, but you definitely do not put your ideas into practice where the animals, volunteers, and staff of animal services are concerned. I can honestly tell you that in my 20 years of volunteering, the present volunteers are exceedingly angry and disgusted with the lack of interest the Board of Supervisors takes in animal services. These are live animals that you are responsible for, and you are doing a very poor job of taking care of them. A new shelter is desperately needed, but in the meantime, you could spend some funds you have already allocated to fence the area designated. Let Animal Services and Focus set up livestock areas to help the entire county, especially in times of emergency like during our last electrifier. It is time to stun the animal lovers of Calaveras County and pay attention to Calaveras County Animal Services. I can assure you the staff would be very, very pleased to have some real support. Please, please do something positive and give the staff and volunteers hope that you are listening, paying attention, and acting on improving the lot of Calaveras County animals and the folks who care for them. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Kathy Nuccio from McCollum Hill, and I was a puppy foster from June of 2011, and my first puppy, who was 2 months old, had to be adopted by us, so she failed. In the interim between June, when we adopted Scooter, who's now 11, we had over a dozen puppies that we fostered, including half of a litter or a whole litter. We got all of them adopted 2 weeks, up until 2 weeks before the Butte fire, when we lost everything, including two rescue kitties. And the last one that we had, a puppy, 2-month-old German Shepherd puppy, was adopted by a young man from Copperopolis who came to empty out our septic tank, fell in love with the little critter, who had demodectic mange, took over his treatment, and he was safely in Copperopolis when the Butte fire came through. Fostering is an important factor in the health and well-being of the critters. Please reintroduce the program. All volunteer again.
Thank you. Are there any other public comment? We do, the 30-minute allotted time will stop at 10:06. Is there any other public comment?
Is our poet laureate?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. There's supposed to be something official that happens. My name is Linda Torn. I'm the new Poet Laureate for Calaveras County for 2022 and 24. And so I wanted to come and see you today and be able to share one of my projects. I have quite a few going on, but this is one I know that you can all help me with. I want to do a crowdsourced poem, and that means that people send me snippets, entire poems, a little narrative, and I take pieces of those and create what's called a crowdsourced poem, but I'm calling them community-sourced poems. And I'd like to do one for every district in the county. So I thought you were the perfect people to kind of reach out to your constituents and get them to send me something. I don't have a deadline because I know this will take a bit of time. I'm from District 2, and I don't want to have District 2 be the only people who contribute. So each of your districts, I'll be traveling around the county just so I can look at it from a district point of view. And so I have a paper for you that tells about it and how people can send in their pieces to me. So I'll leave that for you. And then I'll be going out and I'll be doing poetry workshops with students again. And so I'd like to share with you a poem that one of the poems I will share with each of the classrooms I visit. There'll be over 40 in Amador County, and then I'll be working with the schools, of course, in Calaveras County. This is a poem by William Stafford. You reading this, be ready. Starting here, what do you want to remember? How sunlight creeps along a shining floor, what scent of old wood hovers, what softened sound from outside fills the air. Will you ever bring a better gift for the world than the breathing respect that you carry wherever you go right now? Are you waiting for a time to show you some better thoughts? When you turn around, starting here, lift this new gift that you found, carry into evening all that you want from this day. This interval you spent reading or hearing this, keep it for life. What can anyone give you greater than now, starting here, right in this room, when you turn around? This poem is an unrhymed sonnet. So you'll see the form, and one of the things I'll be doing with my Poet Laureate work is my job is to share poetry in our county and lift our county up among all the other places that have a Poet Laureate. Thank you. Oops.
Thank you.
There's the poem.
Thank you.
With that, I want to go back to the clerk and see if we have any Zoom public comments before I go back into the audience.
There's no online public comment.
Okay, perfect. We have 6 more minutes. Is there any other public comments at this time? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. We appreciate it. We'll move on to the agenda, the rest of the agenda.
It's good seeing people.
Yeah, no, it is. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll wait a few seconds while everyone clears the room. Okay, thank you for your patience. Now we will continue with the agenda. Next up, we have consent agenda. We have multiple items on the consent agenda. Is there any board member or staff that wishes to pull a consent agenda item?
Item 5, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other board member or staff? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Not seeing any in the audience. Is there anything on Zoom?
There are no online public comments.
Okay. With that, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda item
The remaining.
without number 5? I had to think how I was going to say
So
that.
moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Supervisor Stopper, you pulled 5.
Yeah, here, sorry, let me go directly to it. Item 5, it is recommended changes to the position control list for integrated waste. At this time, I would like to, it says in here that we finalized the budget in June. We are going to finalize the budget in September. We're looking at doing a study on integrated waste as a whole. I would like to move this item possibly until we do the final budget, until after we start getting more numbers and get a better overview of integrated waste as a whole and how we all want to proceed with integrated waste.
Okay, so you're asking if we can carry that item to another meeting?
Right.
Is there any comment by other supervisors on that request?
I'm not clear, do you want to wait until budget or until the study's done, which will probably be next year?
Next year? I don't know, but yeah, till final budget, because we moved Public Works, some of those position control lists until final budget, and I think that those changes would fit better with final budget, and that would give me time to possibly discuss with integrated waste what our exact plans are before we get into that full study. You're absolutely right, Ms. Callaway. So for now, this decision, final budget is what I'm asking for.
He's requesting that we wait for final budget, as we have also done with Public Works. Is that okay with the rest of the board? If there is, then, okay. And before I move to a vote, I've got to do public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? Is there any online?
There is no online public comment.
Okay. With that, I'll move it back to the board. If the board is in support of that, I'm looking for a motion to, send it back and bring it to final budget. Is there a motion?
Yeah, that would be my motion, bring this back to final budget.
Okay, we got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Callaway? Marita? Yes, okay. 5-0. Thank you. Next on the regular agenda is item number 13. At this time, I'll move it to the clerk to read out.
Item 13, ordinance, Sheriff, following a public hearing, adopt an uncodified ordinance adopting the Calaveras County Sheriff's Office military equipment use policy in accordance with AB 481 to ensure the continuity of use of equipment that is vital to the safety of citizens and law enforcement officers of Calaveras County, and authorize summary publication of the ordinance.
Okay. At this time, we'll have the sheriff and Anthony come on up. You guys want to come in at the table? No?
We're good.
Okay, you don't want to in the hot seat today?
I get scared in there, I can't run so fast,
Okay.
especially with the lady in pink.
Okay. Okay, with that, I'm going to open the public hearing and turn it over to the sheriff if there's anything.
I'm really here to answer any questions that y'all might have. I mean, we pretty much brought this to the board a couple meetings back, so now it's just a matter of you folks approving it. So I'm at your beck and call.
Okay, Sarah?
I just wanted to note also that the comments that the sheriff's office received during the period in which this was posted on their website as required by law are part of the agenda packet.
Thank you.
And then I'm not sure, have there been any additional comments submitted since? No?
As of this morning, none.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that, is there any questions from the board members? Go ahead.
I wrote the sheriff this weekend a series of questions. My iPad won't let me capture them again, so I don't know if you put a hex on the questions I asked.
I would never do that, Supervisor Callaway.
But I want to at least get to a couple. As all of you know, I have concerns about law enforcement getting involved with the military side of things. The sheriff did answer most of my questions before I was locked out. There's one that I would have possibly, if we can change it, the proposed uncodified ordinance was put on the sheriff's website per what is mandated by law. I would like to see that expanded to other media platforms. I'm not quite sure how to do it, but I would never have known to go to the sheriff's website. And I did go to the sheriff's website this weekend, and I saw it on there, but if I wanted to have commented, I would not have known to go to the sheriff's website, just being a member of the public. I feel like we could do more outreach on ordinances. Excuse me. So if the ordinance can be modified to something increasing public outreach other than what was just mandated, I would like to see that. The other thing that I have concerns about is, under the law, the city or county who receives this equipment is to be able to prove that they have legally enforceable safeguards, i.e. regarding to safety, civil rights, civil liberties, before the equipment can be funded. I'm not clear what that looks like. Does the sheriff's office have to prove to us that civil rights and civil liberties will not be impacted by the purchase of an attack robot? Or, I mean, the Bearcat, the Toyota SUV, they have light artillery. I mean, I don't want to get into the weeds. Thank you for being willing to discuss it. Though I tried to contact you and my iPad wouldn't let me. I know you put a hex on it. So,
Well, if I can
I guess
address,
those are the two.
okay, let me address your first question about the website. Again, like I told you in the email, that anybody that is following this bill that has any concerns will know by reading the bill that the sheriff's office has to post it to their website.
Right.
Okay, so that in itself would say that if I'm interested in this bill and I want to know about it, it says that it has to be posted to our website, so it's going to be on our website. So, I mean, I can look at posting it to our Facebook page, but there's so much social media out there, where does it end? And again, I got to go back to, I'm doing what the law says, and if somebody has some concerns, if they read the law says it has to be on the website, so that would tell them to go to the website. So it is on the website. I will talk to my staff and see if we can't put it on our social media sites, and I'll talk to, and Sarah's shaking her head, yeah, so there's not going to be an issue. I'm not trying to hide anything, Supervisor
No,
Cowell. You understand that?
I understand that.
Okay.
It's just that I'm Joe Public, and I'm not following the bills. There's thousands of bills.
Yes, ma'am.
And until something comes up and shakes the apple tree,
right.
I wouldn't know about it unless I read it in the Enterprise, my Motherlode, the Pine Tree, next door. And all I'm saying is the only place, unless you were, well,
my question...
I'm just saying, it was, for me, controversial enough that it should have had a wider audience.
And just to piggyback on the sheriff's comments, in addition to being published on their website, of course, the ordinance, the fact that the board is considering adoption of this ordinance is, published in the paper, both, prior to this meeting and will be published after. And then just another thing to note, and I certainly think it could be a good idea to push it out on more, social media or whatever the sheriff has open to them. But also going forward, the state statute does require that the sheriff's office does hold an annual community engagement meeting in addition to the meeting at which the board would consider renewal of the ordinance and adoption of the annual report. So there will be a live and in-person community meeting on an annual basis to discuss this as well.
I understand that. And it was in there. I read all of that. I mean, in this case, I did read the fine print. I just felt like because of what it was, it should have had a wider audience. When you have 6 people respond, and I have 6 people say something to me at coffee that didn't know because they're not part of the SO website.
Well, and this
And that's all, I mean, I don't want to beat it up, Sheriff. I'm just saying, if it could go out to, and I would say that about any item that would have potential controversy, that it should reach a wider audience than just the county website, or, well, it was on our agenda. Well, who in the hell, who reads our agenda?
I do.
Unless, but, I mean, how many of us have heard, oh, well, I didn't know, well, it was on our agenda. People, they don't have it as nighttime reading. So that's all I'm asking, if possible.
It's absolutely possible, Ms. Callaway, I will do that. But I want you to remove yourself from being so stuck on the word military. Because the items that the sheriff's office, that your sheriff's office purchases, I can purchase, as I told you in the email, from private vendors. It's not classified as military equipment until the legislator decided to throw that in. And key example is the taser. That taser was designed for police officers by ex-police officers. Had nothing to do with the military, ever. Now, all of a sudden, they have decided that a taser is for the military, and now they put that into their classification. So we in your sheriff's office is doing what we can to do less lethal and trying to keep people from getting hurt. And by the legislator incorporating all of this equipment into military equipment is unfair to the sheriff's office and the police chiefs in the state. Because to use a pepper ball is just a paintball gun that shoots a little thing that has like OC spray in it to incapacitate somebody. It's not there to hurt them, it's there to hit against the wall and put some chemical agent in the air to confuse them. to help us so that we can take them into custody in a non-forceful way. So everything that we have is designed to help us do our jobs without hurting any citizens. Now, if you look at the bill, and I highlighted some of this stuff so I could talk to you about this so that you understand, and I really want you to understand, Ms. Callaway. The bill talks about, papers are attacking me, mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles. That's the MRAPs. We don't have any of those. We don't need any of those. We don't want any of those. High mobility multi-purpose vehicles, which is a Humvees. We have one, we gave it back. We don't need it. Tracked armored vehicles, not going to happen. We don't need that. Command aid, that is just we have an old 1999 Ford truck that we use for a command post. We don't only use it for critical incidences, we use it for fires, we use it for search and rescue. It's a multifaceted piece of equipment. And again, it's a 1999, and again, it was never something that was classified as military until the legislature decided that, when it's got nothing to do with military. It's a command post, that's all it is. Weaponized aircraft, yeah, we're not going there. Okay. And there's only a couple more I want to go over with you. Battering rams, slugs, and breaching apparatus that are explosive in nature. Not going to happen. We don't need that. It's not, that is military equipment, not police equipment. Firearms of 50 caliber or greater. Jack, you're in the military. Is that a big gun? It's a big gun. It's a big gun. I don't need that, nor do we want it, nor will we ever ask for that. Again, ammunition for 50 caliber. We have specialized firearms and ammunition less than 50 caliber. 223, 556. Those are rifles that you would ask me about. We have those for long-range stuff. We've had deputies have to utilize that equipment for people that were threatening our citizens. So that is a necessary piece of equipment. And it realistically, according to this law, it doesn't need to be on our list. But we got with county council and we decided to put it on to be transparent. So that's what we did. Any firearm accessory that is designed to launch explosive projectiles. We don't do it. We don't have grenade launchers. Don't need grenade launchers. Have no need for them. Flashbangs. Again, that's something that we do have. That is something that we can throw into one room to do a distractionary, something distractionary so we can come in the other door to save a hostage or get our people in without getting anybody hurt. It's a distractionary device. It's not designed to hurt anybody. And we typically throw it in rooms where we know there are nobody so that we don't hurt anybody. And again, the taser, designed for police, but now the military has decided that that's there. I mean, if you remember way back in, 2001 or 2 when the taser came out, it was designed to not have to use a firearm, and that's what we use them for. Again, had nothing to do with military. And the last one is projectile launch platforms. Again, mortars. We don't shoot mortars at people. So I think, and I'm here to work with you folks by all means, but you have to understand we are not purchasing military equipment because we want to get into the military business. The Bearcat, we explained to you back then, that is a privately purchased piece of equipment that was not bought by military, but because it's armor plated, now the military says that it's military equipment. That is a rescue vehicle. We use that if we have to go into a school for a shooting. I can put a pot full of kids in the back of that vehicle, and it's armor plated so that we don't have to worry about anybody getting hurt. So it's, you know, and you asked about the Toyotas. Those are minor armor-plated vehicles that were purchased from the military. Those units were used for taking dignitaries around, is what the Army had used them for. We use that as a frontline vehicle if we go to a marijuana grow, or if we're going to go to some type of a hostage situation, or to the schools to try and get kids out, to protect our people, your deputies. We're not using military equipment against the public. When you talk about the canisters and stuff for crowd control, like I told you, when we had our demonstrations up here, we never even brought that stuff with us, Ms. Calloway. That stuff was sitting here at the SO in case we needed it. We don't have those issues up here. But our people go to Oakland, they go to San Francisco, they go to Sacramento, they go to areas that need that stuff, so we have to train so we can utilize that stuff.
Sure, if you go to Sacramento or wherever, do they have to have approved the use of it before you
Yes,
could
ma'am.
use it? Even though you can use it, they have to approve it?
Yes, ma'am, that is their incident. That's just like somebody
what I
coming
thought
to
I
ours.
read.
It has to be approved by us. In fact, there was something I was going to read to you guys at public comment, but I didn't get a chance to do that, but I'll read it next time. What we did in another, down in Berkeley, or what Berkeley did for us. So, different story, but same idea. They still have to have our permission, we have to have their permission. We can't just randomly start throwing stuff downrange to civilians.
As I said, I don't want to be the, you answered most of my questions.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I was concerned about public outreach.
Right.
And
Well,
how do you determine civil rights and civil liberties prior to it being funded or acquired? That's.
And you have to remember, the bottom line is, because of this policy now, you folks have the ability to tell us yes or no. So we're going to be bringing this stuff to you, and it goes back to what we have now. You can tell us we can't use this stuff if you absolutely feel that we shouldn't be using it. But you have to listen to us so that you understand why we need these items to protect your constituents.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, reading through this, the legislature did define quite a few non-lethal things into a military category. I mean, they could throw a pin in there if they decided to and call it a military weapon. But that said, going through your list here, I can appreciate what you do choose to use as opposed to what you choose not to purchase for the sheriff's department, for the people here in Calaveras County. Sheriff, I think you use proper restraint in your choices. I think you use why. I mean, I'm looking at, first time you read a 40 millimeter round, you don't really realize that it's a less lethal, lightweight plastic and foam projectile, so that you can possibly subdue someone as opposed to just killing them.
Can I use that example right there as a perfect example? Do you folks remember the gentleman that killed his sister down in Telegraph Road down in Copperopolis here a while back, where he burned her up in the car? That was the unit that we used to get him to where we could get our dog in there to grab that person. It did not kill him. It's a rubber round is all it is. So those are very, very effective in getting people to come into compliance without having to harm them. So that's the perfect example, man.
And to go a little farther, yes, the legislature did define certain things that I don't necessarily consider myself as military equipment. At the same time, I do appreciate this process. It does give the opportunity for community to put in their input and for us to make a decision based on that input on how we want to proceed. And I would just appreciate working further with you in the future on this and
Absolutely.
and continuing to provide the tools so that you can do your job in a good way for our community as a whole.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Are there any other board comment or question for the sheriff? Jack?
Sheriff, thank you very much for the presentation again. I want to comment on the letter that you sent out to the community yesterday about school safety.
Oh, absolutely.
And since a lot of this military equipment, bad things are happening in the world, and I just want to compliment you for putting that message out and all your deputies and officers for their continued work.
Absolutely.
You gave us great confidence in our safety.
Good.
Thank you.
That's what we're here for.
Any other questions by board or comment? No, seeing none, public comment. This is a public hearing. I'll start on Zoom. Are there any Zoom public comment at this time?
There's no online public comment.
Okay, is there any in the room? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. This is an action item to approve. Is there a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was 5, I heard.
I had to make it.
Right here.
Thank you.
My caveats, of course.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. And with that, public hearing is over. Okay, next we have agenda item number 14. At this time, have the clerk read out.
Item 14, informational item, Economic and Community Development. Receive a presentation from the Calaveras County Economic and Community Development Department regarding 2020 through 2021 activities.
Kathy, are you coming up here? Okay.
That's my plan.
Get.
Do you need a minute?
Oh, we have our son. We're efficient. So, would you like to
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning. Chair Follendorf, Honorable Board of Supervisors, Kathy Galino, your Economic and Community Development Director, and I'm excited. This has been a work in progress for the last couple of years, and I am going to share my screen. Oh, wait, I gotta go back here. Hang on. There we go. Here we go. Thank you very much for having me today. As I said, it's been 2 years coming to bring you the highlights of the last 2 years of work that I've been doing with the county, with our partners, our elected officials, our community, our businesses, and all those great folks that I work with. So the mission of economic and community development is to really work with businesses and providing them assistance in opening, operating, expanding. There's been several businesses I've worked with over the years that have decided and chosen Calaveras for the assistance that we provide. I also help navigate the regulatory process. Oftentimes businesses come, they don't know what they need, where to get them, how to get permits, how to get assistance, and I work with all of our departments and agencies to help facilitate that and make things quick and simple. I want to enhance the economic vitality of our county by a diversity of means, whether it's manufacturing, retail, housing, all types of different assistance, natural resources. We have a lot to offer in Calaveras. And then working with our Parks and Recreation and our workforce development people, as well as our Visitors Bureau and our Chamber of Commerce. We look for public-private partnerships, whether that's in housing or utilities or other options so that we can grow Calaveras responsibly and safely and sustainably. We target market industries so we stop leakage. It's very hard when you see a product here in Calaveras that has to go out to have another process done. Example is, say, a metal fabricator. They fabricate a metal product here. They have to send it to the valley to get it powder coated to come back here to be sold. So we want to try and connect those businesses and those industries together so that we don't have any leakage. There's also tourism and lodging, as well as manufacturing, as I mentioned, and also natural resources. Collaborate with community organizations, as I said before, and really balance a rich blend of our rural history, our culture, with sustainable growth. So 2020 to 2022, these were my goals. Of course, it was during the COVID pandemic when it hit. So the biggest thing was business recovery. The first year was a lot of reaching out to businesses, setting up a call center, helping identify funding resources for businesses. When businesses closed, they didn't have money in the bank to sustain. Some lost their homes, some lost their employees, some employees didn't come back. I also facilitate multi-agency response team meetings. Had one, 2 weeks ago regarding a hotel company that wants to come in. Helped work with our other department heads, our planning director, our public works director, our building official, to help facilitate that conversation. Promoting infrastructure improvements, broadband, that's my life right now. So broadband is a very, very big thing, and I'm sure you're all aware of that. There's funding, quite a bit of funding that's going to be coming down to help with that connectivity for all of our constituents. Utilities, parks and recreation, and yes, the airport. The airport is a very important infrastructure facility that we have. So I help identify and develop new business markets, whether it's biomass, meat, food processing, and manufacturing. I continue to apply and receive grant funds through EDA, USDA, CPUC, Office of OPR, Office of
Planning and Research.
Thank you, ma'am. FAA, and CDBG, which is Community Development Block Grant. And I'm in the process of working with the 5-county region on developing our CEDS, which is our Comprehensive Economic Development Study, which is a year in the making. And we just had a kickoff meeting, so that's really good. And that's going to help going forward in the next 5 years of developing our strategy for economic development, which will play into the county's overall strategic planning. So I know that these slides are busy, and I'm trying to condense a lot of information. So the first action was the COVID response and recovery that I mentioned earlier. I worked with the Chamber of Commerce, the Visitors Bureau, our Health and Human Services Agency, Environmental Management, and we produced a series of 6 specific Zoom meetings when we were doing the unpacking of the governor's roadmap for reopening during COVID. We did online, telephone, and safe in-person outreach to our businesses as much as possible. We actually did mask up and go door to door. We did some business walks in San Andreas, in Copper, and Valley Springs, and passed out PPE. That was mostly the chamber did that, which was fabulous. They're a great partner. We had the community call centers I mentioned here on campus, and then we developed a COVID website, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and provided those resources to our businesses and our community members. We developed the resource guide, Rethink Reopen, the Rebound Toolkit, the COVID-19 and Shop Local Calaveras campaign. We had over 2,000 hits during our first year. And we still promote, obviously, Shop Local by Calaveras. And if you don't have your stickers, come by my office. We have the beautiful Choose Calaveras stickers. We assisted, and I say we, but there was a we, assisted 286 businesses with small business relief grants. So those were the PPP program, the SBA programs. We had 75 awards in Calaveras County. I was hoping for a bigger number, but it did provide $1 million in funding through 58 EIDL loans of $2.3 million. So again, it was really hard. I don't know if you guys tried to use the website, but trying to navigate that was very, very frustrating. Sometimes it would time out because we didn't have good broadband for some of the businesses, and so they really needed that help and encouragement to get through the process. Currently, we're promoting the California Comeback Guide for pivoting resources, and I set up the $1.2 million CDBG Economic Development Business Recovery Grant Program and a loan program, which I'll go into in the next slide. So action 2, as far as my goals for the last 2 years, is grants, funding opportunities. The Community Development Block Grant Program, the business assistance piece of that is a revolving loan program for loans up to $100,000. It was a $500,000 grant award by CDBG, and we're in the process of setting that up finally with the Valley Small Business as our loan underwriter. I'll be working with the Chamber of Commerce on doing a rollout on that. But the big one that's really important and that's been very, very positive is the grant program for small businesses. So this is a grant program that provides $15,000, $30,000, or $50,000 to our local businesses who have been impacted by COVID and that meet the CDBG criteria as low or moderate income. So far, we've awarded out about $450,000, and I still have 2 more businesses I'm working with that are for $50,000. Good news is there's going to be more money left over. There were some businesses that chose not to go through the process, and that's their right, but I encouraged them as much as I could. So I will probably be opening that program up again towards the end of this month for the remaining balance of funds that I have. The other one that we have here is the Economic Development Administration Program. So we have the CEDS, as I mentioned, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, which is the 5-county region of Amador, Calaveras, Alpine, Tuolumne, and Mariposa, or Central Sierra. And that was an $80,000 award. We have the 5-county rural broadband plan, which last month I brought the closeout report on the roadmap for Calaveras County. That was a very important project that's going to help us move forward as we go after other broadband funding to get connectivity done in Calaveras. There's the California Parks and Recreation Prop 68 grant. That was $400,000 for Alex Quinones Park, Feeney Park, and Railroad Flat Project. Then there was a Regional Parks Program, which is a $480,000 grant request for Nielsen Park in San Andreas. I have yet to hear back from them, but hopefully it will be positive news. On the aviation side, we've got several FAA grants that we were awarded. Through the CARES Act, we got $30,000 for lighting and salary offsets. Under ARPA, we got $32,000 that helped eliminate our debt service for the year. And then we got an airport coronavirus response grant of $13,000 that helped offset our utility costs at the airport. Now we go to the match side. So under FAA, we are in need, very desperate need, of our airfield being resurfaced. It's in pretty bad shape. I've come before you for the grant request to go ahead and do the reconditioning for the runway and taxiways. The full project is $4.2 million, but before we can get there, we need to do some geotech surveys and some other analysis. So that's what we're working on now, or will be working on now. Once FAA gives me the award, I will be coming back to the board with the approval to go ahead and move forward on the patchwork and surveys, and that's a $261,000 grant. So this particular grant program, it covers, FAA covers $235,000 of the $261,000. California Department of Transportation, which typically covers 4.5% of the grant match, is not going to participate in this. They did a set allocation prior to FAA coming back and requesting additional analysis be done on the runway. As I mentioned, geotech surveys. So the county match for the $261,704 is going to be $26,170, and that has been budgeted. Okay, FAA match grant. This is a temporary patch slurry seal. This one, actually, hang on, let me go back. Oh, that's for the drainage topo surveys. Yep. So 3-part. So now we're going to talk about the patchwork. So the patchwork that needs to be done on the airfield is the $519,392, of which FAA covers $467,939. California DOT will cover the 4.5% on that. And again, the county share will be $28,596. Last grant here is that annual DOT, California Department of Transportation Aeronautics, provides Calaveras County $10,000 a year. There's no match on that particular grant. It's for general aviation airports, which is what GA stands for. We've talked about PLHA, which is a permanent local housing allocation grant, working with Lee Kimball and our housing partnership folks to get the down payment assistance program going, as well as the home accessibility modification program. And that's been a really good rollout as far as I can see, working with other people. Also received PG&E Economic Development Grant for $14,000. And then I help support other departments and our community members. I did host a series of workshops doing grant writing. I had great folks from Sierra Business Council and Sierra Nature Conservancy that hosted the workshops. We had 30 attendees, including county staff, so that was really helpful. I worked with several shuttered venue grant applications, Murphy's Creek Theater, Calaveras Arts Council, Angels Cat Museum, and local community clubs. The Enterprise Community Grant Foundation was another $5,500 award split between Friends of the Library, Jumping Frog Jubilee, Blue Mountain Coalition for Youth and Families, and ARC of Amador and Calaveras. And there are more grants out there. Broadband, just last week, I submitted a $600,000 grant request to CPUC for CASF funding. We've got the SURF funding, which is the Community Economic Resilience Fund, which we've met with Sierra Business Council with. And LEDA, my finger is on the button, Jack, so I'm ready to push the button. Been working with Marcos, with IT, with RCRC, to get that grant application ready to go. I just forwarded an email to Marcos stating that it looks like August 1st, that grant's going to open. And then the training webinar is on August 2nd. Don't get it, but okay. And then also looking at the USDA grant for resiliency and innovation, but that's probably not going to be a good fit at this point. Okay, business assistance. So besides the grant work that I do, I really like to work one-on-one with our businesses, whether it's identifying appropriate land use options, permit requirements, coordinating meetings, as I mentioned, with county planning and all of our land use departments. I did work with with building department to help develop some fact sheets, flow charts to streamline the permitting process that they are going to roll up into the Track It rollout, provide new and expanding businesses with technical assistance, business licensing, site selection, workforce. I work very closely with Mother Lode job training as well to help provide benefit to businesses that are hiring, whether it's a 50% credit on employees. That could be a big deal to a lot of our businesses if their salaries, if their new employees salaries are covered by 50%. You can see the list of businesses that actually opened and expanded. We also have a restaurant in Valley Springs. It's doubling their footprint, so that's exciting. And providing compliance assistance for changes in operations. Sometimes a business will start going down a path and realize, wow, I really want to expand. I really want to do something different. And they'll start doing it, but then they don't realize, well, there's some other regulations that may fall into that. So helping them get into compliance. Community development, assisting with the general plan implementation. This was something I started when Peter Maurer was here. And now that we have Gabriel Elliott helping with the economic development component piece of that, identifying surplus county property, which we do have a list. And as we go forward in our strategic planning, the county may want to look at divesting from some of that property for reuse, for development, for housing, facilitating special events and projects that come up, even if it's Crawdad Festival or whatever fun thing that's going on. I try to help our community with those permits and compliance. Promoting the recycling market development zone, Parks and Recreation Commission, which is very, very important to all of us, I believe. Workforce housing, and as I mentioned, again, broadband. Broadband has been my life for the last 6 months and will probably be for the next 6 months. But there's great opportunity, and Calaveras is a great place to be and grow. So here's a little bit of data and summaries. I had a lot more slides, and I know this gets busy, but I just did a little bit of sleuthing. It's very difficult to track every single thing I do and every minute of time that I spend, whether it's a phone call, an email, but I was able to track that there's assistance to 102 new businesses, 78 existing, and 4 expanding businesses. Business license data, which I get from Barbara Sullivan's shop, we had 674 new in 2020, 888 renewed. We did have 606 that did cancel, but we still netted 956 new business licenses. I thought that was pretty shocking. In 2021, even more. We had a net of over 1,000 business licenses. And to me, that is just amazing. And where I saw it, where I felt it, where I could hear it, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people decided they didn't want to go back to work. They didn't want to work for somebody else. They wanted to work for themselves. So they created their own home businesses, or in some cases actually did get space and brick and mortared. So that's a 9% increase from 2020 to 2021 in business licenses. Outreach and education, the Economic and Community Development website, the website received 7,000 hits. My Google Analytics over the last 2 years, my Google Analytics showed that in 2020, we had over 3,700 hits. Of course, it was primarily to the COVID pages. I can actually track where people are clicking and what their interests are, so that's good to know. In 2021, over 3,200, and again, it was resources and permitting, so a lot of startup information there. Okay, national investment trends. I thought I had removed this out, but you can see that our losing sectors have been obviously hotels, lodging, real estate, and renewable energy. Our growth sectors were actually accounting services, electrical components, and semiconductors. Don't have a lot of semiconductors here, but we do have trends in home-based work. People can do semiconductor work from home, and their sales and marketing. So the prediction is by 2025, we should be back and better than we were before. Of course, now we are afraid because of inflation and all the things that are happening on that regard. We do have a shrinking workforce, as I mentioned. A lot of folks either retired out, the baby boomers are starting to retire, and a lot of our youth are into entrepreneurial ventures. So different work ethic, and our birth rate continues to fall. And of course, technology, job replacement with technology and artificial intelligence. So second area of focus is business retention and expansion. So we've developed, through our Motherlode job training, developed a list of talent and the types of talents that are available. Obviously, healthcare is one of the number one up here. 80% of our jobs are grown locally, believe it or not. And 15% of our businesses are ready for expansion. Business entrepreneurship is focus number 3. Remote work best suited to rural areas, believe it or not, but we need good broadband, so we're working on the broadband piece. Provide support and training in digital marketing. So there's a lot of opportunity here and a lot of funding available through our workforce board to help provide these training skills to our employees here in Calaveras County. This is a huge leg up for businesses wanting to move forward and promote their business. We have software solutions for research, data mining, and competitive advantage. There's a software program that I wanted to share with you, but I'm not quite ready at this point. It's called Size Up. It's something the city of Stockton utilizes for businesses to actually, it's a software program that they can go on, a business can go on, and look at their competitors, look at what their competitors are paying their employees, look at, the demographics of who's using that particular software or that particular business. It's a really cool tool, but not quite ready for that just yet. So future needs, assistance with 10+ grants. I've kind of hit my limit, I think, of what I can handle. I want to dovetail our SEDS in with the county strategic plan. I want to promote innovative business and workshops and continue with trainings and outreach to businesses. I have a strong feeling that a lot of the businesses don't know all the things that are out there. So getting back out in the community would really, really be important. Return on investment, data tracking software. I have talked with Stan IT regarding how to better track my time and data. Improve county infrastructure. Again, more discussions with our utility providers for future development, as well as, broadband, as I mentioned, but also water and sewer capacity. Work at attracting and identifying and attracting the right businesses. We do have properties that are industrial nature that really could use some redevelopment help along Pool Station Road. We have property at Toyon, and there's a lot of opportunity there and how to get that marketed out and working with our brokers, our real estate brokers. And that's it. Any questions, comments?
Supervisor Stopper?
You know, through Central Sierra Economic Development District and all the things we go on there, I just want to thank you for all the work that you put in, the grant that you just put out that you discussed earlier. Something fell off with the Economic Development Director from Tuolumne County getting a new job and moving on. At that point, the grant was languishing, and you picked up the reins. You had a very short runway, and hopefully it's a success as we move forward, and thank you for picking that up for us. Also, it's crucial with all this money moving forward with the broadband. We get our SEDS done. All these, the collaboration we work to do through Central Sierra Economic Development District and RCRC, where Jack's leading over there, and everything else. I'm very optimistic. There's a lot of opportunity right now, and I appreciate all the time you spent. I've seen it these last so many months, Kathy, moving forward, and you know, I look forward to our success as we move forward in all these different ventures.
Thank you.
Are there any other board questions or comments? Callaway?
The Business Assistance Revolving Loan Fund, we in the past did not have good experience with that. How does this differ from maybe what we've had in the past? The county was left holding the bag.
So in the past, I'm not familiar with what the county did in the past. I've been here 4.5 years. I've heard some stories. I know that it wasn't housed in economic development because economic development didn't exist. So I don't know if that was for business assistance or housing assistance. I think I heard that there was a potential foreclosure of a home because of a...
No, it was business assistance.
It was business assistance. So I can tell you that with it being housed under economic development, I'm familiar with these programs from when I had time, when I was working in Sacramento County. I'm working with a loan underwriter. We have a very strong team of both people from the finance industry as well as the Small Business Development Center and the Valley Sierra to vet these loans. It has not rolled all the way out yet. I'm still working on a subrecipient agreement. There's a lot of checks and balances on these, especially on the CDBG grants. They're probably the hardest grants to not just obtain, but to manage. But again, I don't know how exactly the existing program was, but I know that the feedback I've gotten from the state, from our housing folks at the state, is that they really, really liked the program. They liked the grant program, but they're also very supportive of the loan program.
Okay, I'm not talking about the grant program. I'm talking about, we have received a $500,000 grant award.
Yes.
So we will loan up to $100,000. Okay.
Provided that they meet the income criteria and all of the other criteria in the loan underwriting documents. So they have to qualify.
Okay, because my concern is the county was left holding the bag when the businesses defaulted.
Correct. So the other thing about this particular loan program, which I don't think you had before, is if they stay in good standing with their payments for 2 years, the loan can be forgiven. So that's a huge plus.
Okay.
I don't think you had a loan forgiveness program before.
No.
So that was written into our agreement with CDBG, with Housing and Urban Development.
The other question I had was the down payment for housing. What does that look like? I mean, is that here now, and who's managing that? Does it go through the Calaveras Board of Realtors, et cetera?
So the program was approved by the board in December of 2021, wow. And it's actually being housed under our housing coordinator, so Lee Kimball, who's amazing. We are going to be doing a rollout in the next month or so, I believe. That was also part of that permanent local housing allocation funding was also going to housing home modification accessibility also. But the down payment assistance is the one that's 120% of area median income. So people that make up to $98,000 a year would qualify for the down payment assistance for a home. And it doesn't have to be a first-time home buyer either. So, and Lee's really the expert in that. I just was helping and supportive to get that program out because we were running out of time. So, but that will be rolling out. There'll be, we're in the process of setting up the home partnership or the housing partnership and the website. And I don't know exactly where Lee is in that process, but it's pretty dang close. And there'll be a big media.
Of course, we can't find a home that would fit that financial.
I'm working on that. I'm trying to work with some of our housing developers as part of the partnership as well. We do need housing. And you'll hear me say this over and over and over and over again, we need workforce housing. We need people that are making $15, $20 an hour, be able to find a place to work and not live at my house.
Infrastructure's our biggest hurdle when it comes to.
Exactly right.
So again, there's going to be opportunity to work with our utility providers. I mean, I talk to CCWD, I talk to CPUD, I talk to a lot of different utility providers to see if there's opportunity, because there are grants out there for them, and just trying to make them aware of what opportunities are out there. And we do have, the big one is going to be the SURF funding, which is going to be about $40 million for the 5-county region, or 7-county region, because the SURF is now the Eastern Sierra that takes us from Amador down to Inyo Mono County.
And that's where we're going to get our electric vehicle charging stations?
Yep, I'm going to make sure. No, it actually is. It is actually probably going to be one of the points that we're going to have in the chain of 7 counties, our electrical vehicle charging stations, because part of the SURF funding has the word economic or environmental. So you need to have some climate adaptation, greenhouse gas reduction.
Well, it's good. Yeah,
points.
no, it'll be part of the proposals we put it forward, but we aren't to even the planning grant at this point.
Right, the planning grant is what we're doing with Sierra Business Council. That's the $5 million planning grant, and then that will be followed up by the $40 million implementation grant.
Jack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kathy, thank you so much for the presentation. Being an economic development director through COVID was a remarkable exercise and opportunity and frustration all at the same time. And I thank you for doing that. You, time and time again, stepped up and took on tasks that were not in your portfolio just because they needed to get done. So personal thank you on that. I also want to comment that we've been out visiting, Kathy's taken me out to visit some of the new businesses that have popped up really since COVID. And I encourage you guys to do that. It's remarkable how many people Kathy knows. And it was nice to stop in on a business that wasn't asking for something and just saying, thank you for being in our county and how can we help you, which I don't think most businesses are used to hearing from their government. Down payment assistance, we have a program already in place, or we should have one in place for through RCRC, where we offer down payment assistance to our employees. We were going to roll that out before we had some administrative changes. So hopefully we'll have that right away, and that is through RCRC for county employees. I know Tuolumne County's already announced it, but we have the same opportunities for our people as well. I think when we get to strategic planning, I hope that we'll be able to give you more direction. Right now you're doing everything. Hopefully through our strategic planning process, we'll be able to allow you to focus a little better. I know that certainly broadband is huge, but focused. We've talked about things like Parks and Rec, and I always bring that up, and childcare. So hopefully we'll do that, and that'll also give us some focus on our housing issues as well, which I hope we'll continue to hear from Lee and the Stanislaus community partners on why they're not doing certain things. So I'm frustrated with that, but as you said, Lee is the expert on this. So we'll circle back. So I look forward to continuing to work on the strategic planning so we can give you a little bit more focus, but also thank you personally for all the things that you took on during the COVID crisis. Hopefully we will not have to go through that ever again.
Gay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Kathy, for this presentation.
very, very well done, very nice. I do have a couple questions on your next, I guess it's your last slide, of future needs and resources. You had promote innovative business workshops and trainings. What does that entail? What do you envision that doing? You noticed underneath, CCTV, Visitors Bureau, Chamber, and business associations, in which there are a number here in the county. So is this something that you would have all of them in one room and go over some training or businesses? I just want a little more about what you're speaking about here.
Okay, thank you. So yes, we would have those leaders in the room to help develop the criteria of webinars or opportunities working through CCTV, through broadcast, to provide those workshops in tandem with mother-lode job training. Oftentimes their funding is very specific to a targeted business or industry sector, but what we're finding now, like right now I'm working with the restaurant industry. They need help with their point of sale system. When you go in and you swipe or you order online, you show up and they're like, oh, we didn't get your order. And so a lot of our businesses, especially our smaller businesses, don't have staff and time to figure out how to work that. They get the software, they think they know how to use it, and it doesn't work for them. So I'm setting up a webinar for that and bringing in all those resources, because like when I did the YouTube videos, when we were unpacking the roadmap for COVID, we would get hits for like 2 or 3 months after. People would get on there and watch it, learn about it. So it's another way to outreach to our businesses. So that's one industry, and we're also looking at tourism and recreation for expanding operations. So yeah, there's a series, but those are the people that would be in the room to help, like I said, develop the criteria, the curriculum, and figure out how to get it done, whether we film at CCTV or we film somewhere else to create these webinars. And again, some of them will also be live, because that works really good when you can get on and you can answer questions in the chat. I mean, it's a really cool function. I know we weren't planning on doing this 3-4 years ago, but this is how it is now. So want to get that help out to the businesses and help them be more efficient.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other supervisors that have any questions or comment? I have a couple questions. It was a really great presentation. Thank you for breaking it out. I hope to see more of these in the future. One question you mentioned, or comment you mentioned, the electric charging stations. How are we collaborating with the COG? Because the COG board is working really hard on a study on locations for this county. So I would hate to be, the left hand not talking to the right hand, and collaborate more better with that and what is going to be coming out from the COG. Now, then we're just starting that process. We haven't had a meeting the last month, but I just don't want to be setting expectations and then there's another meeting going on where we're putting in those that do not match with the funding that the COG is working with as well. So just something to be conscientious of. And then the other, which might go more to Supervisor Stopper, is can the board get a presentation on the SEDS that are coming out? I know it's in public comment period right now, but it would be nice to kind of see where it's at, so that way we can engage with our constituents at a local, because I know I've been asked questions in my district with the various business associations, and it just might be a good time to educate us to help navigate that. And I know Fawn's doing a good job with that as well, but more information is always better when talking to our local.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we are just, the Central Sierra Economic Development District contracted with Chico State, so they're starting the survey process, and I've posted some of that information, but definitely the presentation coming to you to talk about what the SEDS is, what the feedback is on the SEDS, and also have board input. That's going to be critical, absolutely. And I have...
Well, I guess what I'm insisting is before the comment period closes, so we can encourage our constituents and business owners to participate in the survey as well.
Okay. I will get that back out to you this afternoon or this morning.
If the rest of the board is so inclined to hear.
I think it's a great idea. I was just going to say, good idea.
Okay, and then, yes, obviously, a follow-up is great to see what you guys have collected. I know this isn't just Calaveras County, it's multi-county, and what came together out of that survey, but something at least now to help and bring more comments in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as far as the COG is concerned, in working with Sierra Business Council, I did give them Melissa's contact information.
Okay.
So when we get to that stage, we're not even in the planning stage yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we get, I have a list this long of our community partners that will be for the SURF funding, for electric vehicle charging, for transportation tourism, and all the good stuff that comes with it, so.
Yeah, and absolutely, the collaboration is part of the process that's actually required of us. I mean, it should always be required regardless.
Absolutely.
So.
More information is always better.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions. I'm going to turn it over to public comment. Do we have any public comment on Zoom?
Judy Hopkins, yes.
Hi, Judy.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I just wanted to circle around to what Supervisor Garamendi was saying about the RCRC loan program. Human Resources is going over that information and giving the information out during orientation. When we have candidates coming into the area, I know that administration sent it out to department heads to distribute among their employees. So we have it posted on the Human Resources website. So it's a fantastic program, and we are getting the information out to our employees and future candidates.
Thank you, Judy. Are there any other public comments online?
There is no further public comment online.
Okay, I'll bring it to the room. Is there any public comment in the room? Yep. There is a green light for time.
Madam Chair, Supervisors, I
You're eating his time up.
I just would like to say that it has been a joy collaborating with Kathy over the last several years, and her leadership on our board has been tremendous. From a chamber standpoint, in short, I would say I had a conversation the other day with Jamie and Joel Brandt, who have opened a grocery outlet in Valley Springs very successfully, and they said they never would have been able to do it without Kathy. That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
Sure.
Is there any other comment at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back. Thank you, Kathy, for bringing this item and the conversation. I appreciate it. So, with that, we'll move on. We'll hold on a sec so you can get out. We got supervisor comment, then we're done. Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is supervisor announcement comments. I will start to my left with Supervisor Callaway.
I do have comments this time. Yesterday, Gary and I were on a Zoom with Central Sierra Child Support. Next month is Child Support Awareness Month. Marcos, there will be something coming to you to put on the agenda. Of course, it's not going to be on till the middle. The agency wants to come to the board, but not till the middle of the month. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with the Destination Angels Camp with Debbie Pani's group, which I gather she's met with all of you. I've asked Jennifer to join me, and Martin will also be there. Also, I just want to bring up something that we had voted on that we might like to reconsider, where we're spending $10 and getting 10 cents. And it came about when I heard Leslie talking about the mobile home parks and what the law requires the assessor's office to do. And it made me realize that we didn't change the low value exemption. because we had gotten a lot of pressure from the school district, I know, not to change it. The school district doesn't pay for any administrative costs to collect the tax. And so I'm going to give you an example of what it's costing us. And this just came about as I listened to what the law said about mobile home parks. And I asked Leslie, what she has to, or the assessor, whomever, has to send an appraiser out to mobile home parks to evaluate what would be on their supplemental tax bill. And she, in the current appraiser's case, she uses new entry-level appraisers to do it. So she said it's about $40 to do the inventory. They drive out, they have to measure around because the skirting around a mobile home is included, the porch is included, everything but the mobile home is included in the supplemental. So you have a $4,000 bill that, which seemed to be everybody that came yesterday. Their bills were somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. So it's cost us $40,000 to get it, to produce it. And that's just the assessor's time. It is not the treasurer's time who produces the tax bill or the auditor's time who then distributes the money per Prop 13. So the bill, the payment that the mobile homeowner will owe the county will be somewhere between $40 to $60 unless they have a homeowner's exemption, which most of us who live in our own homes have a $7,000 homeowner's exemption, and then it's zero. They owe nothing. And so we, as a county, get 18.5 cents of every tax dollar. So here we are probably spending $10 to maybe collect 10 cents. And I just think it's something that we might want to relook at for the low-value exemption. We're not getting tax revenue for the cost to send out the tax bill. So it was pretty interesting listening to how much work is involved on part of the assessor, the treasurer, and the auditor for us to collect maybe, and this is just the mobile home parks, $40 to $60 unless they have a homeowner exemption. Then we receive nothing, but we do the same work. I just think it's something we should reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Callaway. Supervisor Garamendi.
Nothing.
Okay, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Marita and I did attend the Central Sierra Child Support Agency meeting yesterday, and they are, she's correct, they are going to give a presentation next month, so Marcos, if you keep an eye out for it. Julie Prado should be contacting you. I do want to bring up one thing, and this is something that we talked about before, and it was fleet management. We had some discussions on doing something for the entire county because we have so many vehicles from different departments going everywhere that we were going to look into the funding part of it and possibly something we could do. COG is in the same kind of situation. We're looking for a place where we can set up and at least own the property. So we put in charging stations because, like the county moving forward, the CTA, the transit authority, is going to be rapidly forced into electric buses. There's just no way around it, what's going on in California. So I was wondering if we as a county would like to at least explore, not just explore, looking at some properties that could you facilitate both our management fleet management and the CTA, in conjunction with the CTA, of at least exploring that and looking at properties or something and having a discussion about it in the future. Is there any comments on that? I mean, you might have financially if we partner with COG.
I think it's definitely worth a discussion.
Jack Maruda, would you be open to having that discussion at a board?
I'm always open to listen to an idea.
Okay. So could we work on putting that on the agenda in the future? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Supervisor, are you done? You got any? No? Supervisor Stopper.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Okay. COG has had the month off of July. We do that every year, so our next meeting will be next Wednesday. I will be on a radio interview tomorrow with BJ Hansen, and I'm coordinating with Marcos and Sarah on that. And I believe that the annual, the board chair has the interview to talk about the county. I believe Supervisor Stopper did that last year as well. The other thing that I would like to, at some point, request the board to consider discussion or getting an update is I have learned that the CPC group has been organizing meetings regarding the Copper Community Plan for months. Unfortunately, I found out through social media, and my concern is that at this time, the board hasn't given staff direction, and I do not want staff or the board to be at a disadvantage by not having the conversation or direction going forward, because I believe staff is getting outreach, and I am getting contacted about this. And I know it's on the priority list. We've waited some time knowing that we didn't have the department fully staffed, but I would like to see if at some point in the near future we could get that discussion going to at least help staff figure out how to navigate these meetings that are happening without anyone's knowledge with community members, and kind of cut out what unintended expectations might be had.
My understanding as we move forward, because we move forward with the Valley Springs Community Plan, that we had given staff at that time direction to move forward with the Copperopolis Community Plan, not only in conjunction with or following the Valley Springs Community Plan and everything else. Now, that direction was given clearly, from my understanding, but we had a department head change at that time. So I think that if you want them to move forward, the direction was given, that you could probably go in and just remind Gabriel, because he wasn't here at that time, that we had given that direction. Am I wrong, Council?
And I'm not questioning that the board gave direction, but out of benefit for a new staff, I think it would be prudent to have a more robust conversation at this level, because a lot has changed since then. We now have a general plan, we have all these things, and I just, from a priority standpoint, he's got other implementations, and I think that it might lead to a greater conversation that he needs to be brought into and folded into this. Because it's been a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Yeah, we had a
since
general
that direction
plan
was given.
We had already had a general
Yeah.
plan when we brought the Valley Springs Community Plan forward.
We did, and I think there's a little bit of a difference. Is there an actual plan written for Copper?
No, there is
See,
not.
and the difference was there was two plans in Valley Springs that we had, and we molded together in order to come up with one. And that's a situation that's different that's here. And there's no plan written that they can take the document and go over. I think initially what needs to be done is a meeting down there that you're talking about, and at least come up with some plan, and then it can be circulated and comments made on it, and go forward from there.
And then brought back to the board at that time, in which we have a discussion.
And with all due respect, I don't want it to, we have a history of our community plans in this county, and I want to get ahead of it so we don't find ourselves in the same predicament that we did, and I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from that, and how can we learn from that and help Gabriel be successful in the next, launch of this, because there are a lot of, competing interests and things like that.
Yeah, well, there's that copper has been since Tom was supervisor from back then, had copper on it, and then Russ, and so this thing has been going for a long time, as Marina knows. And they haven't got anything together. I'm sure it's starting back up again, and we need to facilitate them, because we did discuss it, and it was part of a general plan that we put forward that plan, so, yeah.
Okay, Sarah? So, Madam Chair, would you like us to go ahead and work with planning to agendize something at an upcoming meeting then?
If the board would be supportive of that.
Always in support of talking about things that are going to move the county forward in the proper direction.
Marita?
I mean, I'm not sure what it's coming to us is going to look like. We've given direction. They have all new staff. If we're asking planning to do what? To provide someone to them, or to accept it? Or should we hire an outside person to help? We all know Copper needs one, and that was a priority of the board under the community plans.
So maybe what we can agendize is that conversation, just so that we're not having it during supervisor.
That's what I want, because you hit exactly what I think could be the issue of communication too, is we have all new staff. So, yes, the board has made a decision, but I think we need to revisit make sure the new staff understand and what their expectations are, so we can move forward on it. Because there are a lot of other priorities that the board has that planning is also dealing with, and so we want to make sure that we're not just, there's countywide, and then there's obviously this, and I don't want the competing interests to delay any other county priorities as well.
I'm in support of talking about this on an agendized meeting, and moving forward with the direction the board gives from there.
And I want those same questions answered, because I wasn't here. I came in after as well. So I think it would be nice to get on the same page, and why not have that opportunity with both myself as the district representative and staff to understand how this would look like and work. So I'm able to better have those conversations with my constituents too. I think you and I have the same questions going on in our head. Would that be okay, Marita?
I don't know why we can't talk about it now, but that's okay. Sarah's just giving me the eye.
Only because it's not on the agenda, Supervisor Callaway, but we can certainly agendize it for one of the August meetings and then have a more robust discussion.
Thank you. Okay. With that, are there any other comments by board at this time? If not, we'll go into closed session, and we'll see everybody next month. Okay. Have a good day.